potentially life-threatening cyclone situation is unfolding for the Queensland coastline this morning as Cyclone Jasper begins rapid intensification in the Solomon Sea. So everyone's talking about Cyclone Jasper at this time. You can see here it is in the Solomon Sea right now. It is wrapping itself up really nicely. Beautiful banding features, a beautiful banding structure in fact, and it looks like we're starting to see an eye-like feature start to develop in the middle of all of those convective bands, which is bad news because it means that the storm is now beginning rapid intensification. This storm is expected to become very strong and it will be a dangerous storm threat to the Queensland coastline. The most comparable storm to this one is Cyclone Debbie of 2017. It is definitely a loaded gun forecast. So you can see right now the Bureau of Meteorology expecting a Category 4 peak out of this system in around 2 to 3 days time. The significant cyclone will then continue moving on towards the Coral Sea Reef Islands, and there's a lot of uncertainty with how fast the storm is going to track and exactly where it's going to track, so we're going to have to be watching that one very closely. But one thing's for sure, significant rainfall and significant wind gusts are expected and are possible anywhere between the Gold Coast right up towards Cairns. This storm could make landfall anywhere on the Queensland coastline, or it could completely give the state a miss as well. So here's a look at the multimodal diagnostics. You can see the storm starting its intensification phase, which will likely be rapid at times. You can see it's expected to peak as a Category 3 strength system with winds of around 110 knots on the Saffir-Simpson scale. That is a Category 5 on the Australian scale with 1 minute sustained winds above 110 knots. This storm is going to become very powerful. It's probably not going to get to Category 5 status at this time. It'll have a lot of work to do over the coming couple of days, but we'll be watching it very closely. Wind shear remaining low and sea surface temperatures remaining sky high for this system, at least for the next 48 hours or so. So here's a look at our forecast track map. You can see it is expected to peak out as Category 4. This forecast track is pretty much in line with the Bureau of Meteorology. A lot of uncertainty towards the end of the cone, which is why you see the circles dramatically increase. The storm could end up anywhere between these circles, and once again there is quite a lot of uncertainty regarding potential intensity for this system, especially beyond days 2 and 3. So here's a look at the ECMWF 10-meter wind run from windy.com. You can see the storm expected to peak with those black winds above 85 knots. Sustained, that is, peak wind gusts could be approaching 115 knots at that time, which is about 240 kilometers an hour. However, the storm would be substantially weaker as it approaches the Mackay-Townsville sort of region. It could make a direct landfall. However, the ECMWF taking the storm a little bit further north and almost taking it up towards Cairns if you were to extrapolate that around day 6 or 7 or so. So again, a lot of uncertainty with where this storm is going to be tracking and how strong it's going to be. Here's a look at the GFS model, probably the most reliable model out of all of them right now. You can see the storm intensifying quite rapidly over the next 24, 36, 48 hours before starting to stall off and then weaken a little bit more. It becomes a larger system, still of around Category 2, Category 3 proportions on the Australian scale before making another run of intensification and giving Townsville a direct hit there, similar spot to where Yasi of 2011 made a hit. Again, probably as a Category 3 tropical cyclone, so nowhere near as damaging, however still fairly significant indeed. Now, I've been rummaging on about how significant the rainfall threat from this system is, so here is a look at the rainfall run courtesy of the GFS and weather nodes. You can see significant rainfall totals expected around the landfall side of this system. Anywhere that basically gets the brunt of this storm's core will be receiving an absolute drenching, that's for sure. Up to 550 millimeters expected in some places. Rolling that back and rolling it through again, you can see it looks like the Solomon Islands are out of the worst of it right now, maybe another 100 to 150 millimeters in places for the rest of today, but the real story is going to be anywhere between Mackay right up to Cairns, up to 250 and in places 500 millimeters of rain expected, and then as the storm moves further inland, another 200 millimeters or so for Charters Towers. But let's take a look at the forecast models right now, courtesy of windy.com. Alright, so here we are on windy.com taking a look at Cyclone Jasper, located up here, is indicated by the 991 millibar low pressure system. It is in the Solomon Sea at this point. It's going to be tracking south out of the Solomon Sea over the coming sort of 12 to 24 hours. And as we get into Wednesday evening local time, we're going to be seeing the system hit the open waters of the Coral Sea. And this is where we're going to start to see the significant intensification begin. So you can see it really wrapping itself up over the next sort of 12 to 24 hours. By Thursday morning, we're looking looking at a pretty strong tropical cyclone, probably of category 3 proportions. Again, that's in line with the Bureau of Meteorology forecast. I think the winds on this run are a little bit out. I think the storm is going to get a little bit stronger than what the wind forecast is here from the eastern relief. But again, still Friday morning local time, we're looking at a very powerful tropical cyclone, category 3 status or so. That's a severe system, and it will be a significant land threat to all of the small islands in the Coral Sea Islands territory just through here. Willis Island should miss the worst of this system. However, that's not to say that they won't get some of the gales and the outer bands of this system, that sort of stuff. You know what I'm talking about. You can see significant winds around the centre of the system, around 75 to 80 knots as we get into late Friday. This is probably when the storm's going to be peaking as a category 3 or 4 strength tropical cyclone before that gradual weakening will take place as the storm makes its more westerly turn towards Bowen, Townsville, Mackay, those regions there. It is definitely a big threat to all of these areas, especially places between Cooktown right down to Mackay. We could be seeing a cyclone landfall from this system in around 5 to 6 days time from now, and you can see with the eastern relief solution bringing it right up towards the shore here. It is a pretty weak tropical cyclone, all things considered, probably of category 2 status, and I believe that's because wind shear is quite high for this system, and the surrounding environment, yeah, it's around 20 to 25 knots, so it's not perfect for the system. Then again, it'll probably end up just holding intensity, maybe with some gradual weakening. The thing that concerns me is sea surface temperatures are very warm close to the coast. They're around 30 degrees Celsius, so the storm will have a chance of rapid intensification in the 6 hours just before landfall, and it'll be able to fire some pretty impressive convection, which could bring some very significant rainfall totals basically anywhere that it makes landfall. And again, that does look to be a problem with the banding features of this system, especially down towards the south of this system, bring on significant rainfall onshore. We could be seeing totals up to, I believe, around 100, 150 millimeters in the next sort of 5 days, and then beyond that we'll be seeing even more rainfall as the system makes its final dash up towards landfall. So the GFS is calling for a direct landfall on the Queensland coastline in its latest run. You can see here a category, what looks to be about a category 2, maybe a category 3 tropical cyclone moving in, making landfall around Airlie Beach, Hamilton Island, exactly where Debbie made landfall in 2017. This has been the story for about 3 days now as per the GFS, so this is certainly looking like a possibility. The only thing is it keeps pushing back the time. It was calling for a Saturday landfall a couple of days ago. Now we're looking at a landfall late on Monday local time, so we're going to be watching this one very closely. As I've said before, there's a lot of uncertainty with where the system's going to be tracking and when it's going to be tracking, so we're going to be watching this very, very closely on the AU channel, so make sure you are staying tuned. So here's a look at the wave heights from this system as it moves towards the coastline. This is another big concern. Significant coastal erosion is expected anywhere north of Rockhampton, basically. Basically anywhere just to the direct south. This system is going to get this very rough onshore flow because of the way that these cyclones rotate in the southern hemisphere. You can be seeing wave heights here approaching that 20 feet, 7 meters mark. That's really nasty stuff. You don't want to be boating in, or basically anywhere around that. The only thing that might save the Queensland coast here are all of these atolls. They tend to block it, but again, significant erosion possible on Hamilton Island and all of these smaller islands as well. And that's not to rule out that significant beach erosion could occur in some of these places here outside of Townsville, Bowen, Proserpine, that sort of region. So make sure you are staying safe there. If you're in an area prone to coastal flooding on extreme tides and in cyclones, make sure you are preparing your sandbags right now. Don't necessarily get them ready because, again, there's no certainty right now with this system. There's a lot out there for the oceans to decide, but make sure you are just getting prepared because this storm should be definitely in the back of your head at this time. It's a significant tropical cyclone threat, and it has the potential to become a very powerful tropical cyclone as well. Here's a look at it right now. It's got a perfect banding structure. This is a beautiful looking storm, might I add, and once it develops an eye, this might just be a very photogenic system for the Coral Sea. Distinct banding features, very commonly seen in the Australian region. Beautiful outflow up here towards Papua New Guinea and down towards the south, blowing over sort of New Caledonia and Vanuatu at this time. Significant thunderstorms being blown over the Solomon Islands at this time into Honiara and that sort of region. So again, it is a beautiful looking system, but that also means that it is a menacing looking system, and this is quite the picture for Queensland to be staring down. The closest thing that I can compare this to is Cyclone Debbie of 2017. It is going to be a very strong system when it makes landfall or threatens the Queensland coast, so make sure you are watching the forecast very, very closely indeed. But that's the latest from us. Make sure to subscribe and check out our outlets in the description down below, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.
Thank you for watching our content this update. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to get more updates covering all things weather and geophysics impacting Australia and the Oceania region. Subscribe to our other channels for more content from across the network, and be sure to check out our website where you can find free access to floater and radar imagery and articles on everything weather and much more. If you wish to support us directly, you can purchase some of our merchandise. We have a wide variety of clothing and homeware, or you could become an Ultimate Fan, which is the best way to directly support us, granting you some sweet perks and offers, including features in our custom storm animations, live streams, and much more.